The betrayal. Dr. Elena Reyes stood at the observation deck of the Terran embassy, gazing at the spectacular view of Nexus Prime, the capital world of the Galactic Assembly. The swirling nebula above cast purple and blue hues across the crystalline spires of the city, a beauty that still took her breath away even after 5 years as Earth's chief negotiator. Her contemplation was interrupted by her assistant, David Chin, who approached with an urgent expression that immediately set off alarms in Elena's mind. "Dr. Reyes, you need to see this," he whispered, handing her a security-encrypted tablet. Commander Takashi's intelligence team intercepted it from the Zethrian private server. Elena's eyes widened as she swiped through the documents. The Zethrians were among the Assembly's founding species and held significant influence in galactic politics. What she read made her blood run cold. "Are we certain this is authentic?" she asked, her voice barely audible. David nodded grimly. "Triple verified through independent channels. The Assembly has been implementing the Human Containment Protocol for the past decade. Everything they've done, every trade agreement, every territorial limitation, every technological exchange, has been designed to keep us dependent and controlled." The documents detailed a systematic plan to restrict human expansion while extracting Earth's innovations. The Assembly had classified humans as dangerously adaptive and a potential evolutionary disruptor. Rather than exclude humanity from the galactic community, they'd opted for a more insidious approach. Apparent inclusion while secretly imposing limitations designed to prevent humans from ever becoming truly competitive. "There's more," David said, taking the tablet and pulling up another file. "This is from the High Council's Evolutionary Management Committee." Elena read the document with growing horror. It outlined plans for genetic interventions in human populations over the next century, subtle alterations designed to reduce humanity's famous adaptability and problem-solving capabilities. The Assembly considered these traits destabilizing to galactic harmony. "They're planning to change who we are," Elena whispered. "Not just restrict us, fundamentally alter us." "The worst part is we've been helping them," David added. "Every medical exchange, every DNA database we've shared, they've been using it to develop their protocols." Elena looked back at the gleaming city, its beauty now seeming like a facade hiding something rotten. For almost 50 years, humanity had struggled to prove itself worthy of membership in the Assembly. Humans had modified their behaviors, shared their innovations, and accepted restrictive quotas on expansion, all while believing they were earning respect as newcomers to galactic society. It had all been a lie. "Contact Earth Central," Elena said, her voice hardening with resolve. "Priority Alpha. We need an emergency summit with every colonial governor and Earth nation leader. And make sure this transmission is completely shielded from Assembly monitoring." 3 days later, Elena stood before the assembled leaders of humanity in the underground chamber beneath New Geneva. The room was designed to be completely secure from any surveillance. The faces before her, both physically present and projected via quantum entanglement from distant colonies, showed various stages of shock, anger, and disbelief as she finished presenting the evidence. Admiral Quaim Okafor, head of Earth's defense forces, was the first to speak. "We suspected something like this, but never at this scale or level of coordination. The Assembly has been manipulating us since first contact." "What are our options?" asked Governor Maria Santiago of the Proxima Centauri colony. "We can't fight the entire Assembly. They control thousands of worlds across 3 spiral arms." The room erupted in debate. Some advocated for diplomatic confrontation, others for a military buildup. A few even suggested accepting the reality and negotiating better terms. Dr. Sanjay Patel, the quiet genius who had revolutionized quantum physics, cleared his throat. The room fell silent. Patel rarely spoke at these gatherings. "There is another option," he said softly. "We leave." "Leave?" Governor Santiago asked incredulously. "Leave and go where?" "The Assembly controls all known habitable systems." A slight smile crossed Patel's face. "Not all systems. For the past 15 years, my team has been working on Project Starstream, a network of stable wormhole generators that can transport entire stations, cities, even small moons. We've been placing them throughout human space, disguised as research outposts. He activated a holographic display showing an area of space far from assembly territories, unexplored regions beyond the Perseus arm. We've sent automated probes through. There are habitable worlds out there, thousands of them, beyond the assembly's reach or knowledge. Worlds where humanity could start fresh, without constraints. The silence that followed was profound. What Patel proposed was nothing less than the greatest migration in human history. Billions of people abandoning everything they'd built in known space to venture into the unknown. The logistics would be, Admiral Okafor began. Immense but manageable, Patel interrupted. The Starstream network can transport our entire civilization within months. We'd leave nothing of value behind. And the assembly would just let us go. Asked President Diaz of the North American Alliance, skepticism evident in her voice. Elena stepped forward. They wouldn't know until it was too late. We'd maintain appearances, continue negotiations as normal. Meanwhile, we evacuate quietly, colony by colony, ship by ship. An exodus, someone whispered. The debate raged for days. The risks were enormous. But as more evidence of the assembly's manipulation emerged, the calculus shifted. The final vote was nearly unanimous. Operation Exodus would begin immediately. Over the next 6 months, humanity executed the most complex logistical operation in its history. On colony worlds, people packed their belongings while maintaining normal routines. Space stations were quietly emptied while automated systems maintained the appearance of regular operations. Ships changed course without explanation. The massive Starstream generators were activated in sequence, creating stable pathways to humanity's new frontier. Throughout it all, Elena maintained her diplomatic duties at the assembly, smiling through meetings while feeding the other species carefully crafted misinformation. The Zethrians, Duraxians, and other elder races noticed nothing unusual. Humans had always been somewhat unpredictable by their standards. Only Krell, the reptilian ambassador from the Trescan Dominion, seemed suspicious. After a particularly tense negotiation over mining rights, he cornered Elena in a corridor. "Your species has been quieter lately, Dr. Reyes," he said, his vertical pupils narrowing. "Fewer complaints about quotas, fewer proposals for joint ventures. One might think humans are losing interest in galactic affairs." Elena smiled diplomatically. "Perhaps we're finally learning patience, Ambassador Krell. Your species has always counseled us to take the long view." Krell's tongue flicked out, tasting the air around her. A Trescan gesture equivalent to studying body language. Indeed, a welcome development, if true. As she walked away, Elena's smile faded. The Trescans were known for their perceptiveness. They might not know what was happening, but they sensed something. The timeline might need acceleration. She contacted Admiral Okafor that evening. "We may need to move up the final phase." "How many remain?" 8% of our population, he replied. "Mostly from the outer colonies and deep space installations. We need another 3 weeks for complete evacuation." "You have 2, Elena said firmly. "I'll prepare the declaration." The Admiral nodded grimly. "We'll be ready." 2 weeks later, as the last humans prepared to depart known space, Elena dressed in her formal diplomatic attire for the final time. The declaration was prepared, her personal belongings already sent through the Starstream. In her quarters at the Terran Embassy, she looked around at the empty rooms, feeling a strange mixture of sadness and anticipation. Her communication device chimed with a message from Admiral Okafor. "Exodus 99% complete. Awaiting your signal." Elena took a deep breath and headed toward the assembly hall for humanity's final act on the galactic stage. The aftermath. The assembly hall fell silent as Dr. Elena Reyes approached the central podium. Representatives from over 200 species watched with mild curiosity. Humans rarely requested emergency sessions. Esteemed representatives, Elena began, her voice steady despite the weight of the moment. For 48 years, humanity has participated in the Galactic Assembly. We came with open hands and hearts, eager to join a community of diverse species united in mutual respect and cooperation. She paused, surveying the chamber. The elder races, Zethrians, Doraxians, and Galtorians, watched with the detached interest of beings who measured time in millennia rather than decades. Today, I formally announce humanity's complete withdrawal from the Galactic Assembly and all associated treaties, effective immediately. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Such withdrawals were unprecedented. No species had ever voluntarily left the Assembly in its 12,000-year history. Ambassador Zorix of the Zethrians rose, his luminescent skin pulsing with blue patterns of confusion. This is most irregular, Dr. Reyes. Withdrawal protocols require a transition period of at least 5 standard years to ensure economic stability and... We're not following assembly protocols, Elena interrupted firmly. Humanity is already gone. As if on cue, urgent messages began flooding the communication panels of various representatives. Reports from every sector of assembly space showed the same pattern. Human colonies suddenly empty, stations abandoned, ships vanishing from tracking systems. What trickery is this? Demanded Krell, the Trescan ambassador. Where have your people gone? Elena allowed herself a small smile. Beyond your reach. On view screens throughout the chamber, surveillance footage showed massive starstream portals activating simultaneously across human space, technology completely unknown to the Assembly. The portals shimmered with energy as the last human outposts and vessels disappeared through them before the generators self-destructed, leaving no trace of the technology behind. Impossible, whispered a Doraxian elder, eyes wide at the display of technology that surpassed even their understanding. No species at your development stage could create stable artificial wormholes of that magnitude. Perhaps you underestimated us, Elena replied. A common theme in the Assembly's approach to humanity. She activated her personal device, projecting documents into the chamber's shared information space, the very files detailing the human containment protocol and genetic intervention plans. We discovered your true intentions, she continued as representatives recoiled from the exposed secrets. You never saw us as equals. We were simply another species to be managed, controlled, and eventually molded to fit your vision of galactic stability. The chamber erupted in chaos. Some representatives demanded explanations, others made threats, while the elder races sat in stunned silence, their carefully constructed plans crumbling before them. Elena raised her hand, waiting for the uproar to subside. This is not a declaration of war. We seek no conflict with the Assembly. We simply choose to forge our own path among the stars, free from manipulation and control. With those words, she stepped away from the podium. As she walked out of the Assembly Hall for the final time, a message appeared on her device. Final evacuation complete. Welcome to freedom. Behind her, the first cracks in the 12,000-year-old Galactic Order had begun to form. 6 months after humanity's departure, the Assembly's High Council convened an emergency session. The initial shock had given way to dismissal. Humans had been part of the galactic community for less than 50 years, barely noticeable in the cosmic timeline. The human withdrawal is a minor disruption, declared High Counselor Zorix of the Zethrians. Their influence on galactic affairs was minimal. Markets will adjust, trade routes will stabilize. But 1 year later, the first significant problems began to appear. On the central hub world of Nexus Prime, power grids failed unexpectedly. Technicians discovered that the self-repairing circuits designed by human engineers had begun to degrade without regular maintenance that only humans had fully understood. This was merely the beginning. Navigation systems across multiple sectors reported increasing inaccuracies as the stellar mapping algorithms developed by humans became outdated. The innovative terraforming techniques humans had implemented on frontier worlds began to fail without proper oversight, leading to ecological instability and food shortages. The Diraxians suffered most severely. They had integrated human-designed quantum communication networks throughout their territories, often taking credit for the innovations. Now their entire infrastructure teetered on the brink of collapse as systems failed, and no one possessed the expertise to repair them. How did we become so dependent on a species that was part of our community for mere decades? Demanded Counselor Teleth of the Diraxian Conclave during a closed session. A junior aide dared to speak. The humans were exceptionally efficient problem solvers, Counselor. They identified and fixed issues we didn't even recognize as problems. We simply let them handle things. 2 years after the Exodus, smaller species began following humanity's example. The Vecturi, long treated as second-class citizens by the Assembly, withdrew their representatives. The nomadic rill collectives stopped paying tribute for passage through traditional trade corridors. The pattern spread across the galaxy. Species that had endured assembly control for centuries now questioned why they remained. The humans showed it was possible, said the Vecturi ambassador before departing. They showed we have a choice. Economic instability spread throughout assembly space. The Galactic Stock Exchange collapsed as confidence in leadership plummeted. Resources grew scarce in central systems, and regional conflicts erupted over trade routes and supply chains. Most alarming were reports from observers at the fringes of known space. Strange ships had been spotted, human vessels, but more advanced than any seen before. Freed from assembly restrictions, human technology was evolving at an unprecedented rate. 3 years after humanity's departure, the assembly chamber had lost its former glory. The crystalline walls had dulled without proper maintenance, and many seats remained empty, abandoned by species that had followed humanity's example. High Counselor Zorix, his luminescence dimmed by stress, addressed the diminished gathering. The situation has become critical. Regional conflicts have spread to 17 sectors. Food shortages affect 32 worlds. Our economy continues to decline. The truth no one wanted to admit hung heavy in the air. Their mighty Galactic Order was falling apart, not through violence or war, but through the simple choice of one species to find another path. I propose an expedition, Zorix continued. We will find the humans and convince them to return. And if they refuse? Asked Krell, now elevated to the High Council. Zorix's skin darkened. Then we use force if necessary. The stability of the galaxy is at stake. The expedition was approved. The most advanced vessels in the assembly fleet were prepared, armed with weapons not used in centuries. They would follow the quantum traces left by the Starstream technology through the void between spiral arms. After months of travel, the assembly fleet arrived at the coordinates where the traces converge. What they found left them speechless. A vast network of thriving worlds spread before them, connected by permanent Starstream portals. Massive orbital structures, advanced defense platforms, and flourishing colonies filled the region. Evidence of progress that should have taken centuries, not mere years. Admiral Exentar of the Zethrian Guard stared at the sensor readings in disbelief. How is this possible? Their technology has advanced beyond even our theoretical models. Before they could approach closer, their communication system activated. A holographic image appeared on the command deck. Dr. Elena Reyes, looking remarkably unchanged despite the years. "Welcome, Assembly representatives," she said, her expression neutral. "We've been expecting you. You knew we would come." Admiral Kentar asked, surprised. Elena nodded. It was inevitable. You've come because your carefully ordered galaxy is falling apart without us. The species you plan to control and eventually reshape. The Admiral bristled but couldn't deny the truth. The Assembly proposes a new relationship, a true partnership this time. You need us, Elena finished for him. We understand, but we don't need you. Behind her, the hologram expanded to show vast cities, advanced shipyards, and thriving ecosystems. A civilization that had flourished beyond all expectations once freed from constraints. Humanity is willing to establish diplomatic relations, Alina continued, but on our terms. No membership in the Assembly. No integration into your hierarchical structure. We deal with you as equals or not at all. The Admiral looked at the human civilization before him, built in just 3 years while the mighty Assembly had begun to crumble, and understood that the balance of power had fundamentally shifted. As the Assembly fleet returned home with humanity's terms, they carried a simple truth. The day humans walked away, the old Galactic Order had not just been challenged, it had been replaced. The species once dismissed as upstarts had shown that freedom was more powerful than control, innovation more vital than stability, and courage more valuable than tradition. The galaxy would never be the same again.